know I loves me some Ms. Pac-Woman. This is Ms. Pac-Man on the Atari 5200, copyright 1982. Not a bad version of Ms. Pac-Man. When you take the date that this was released into consideration, it looks quite nice, and the Atari 5200 has excellent versions of both Pac-Man and Ms. Pac-Man. Pac-Man is terrible on the Atari 2600 and done very well for the 5200. Ms. Pac-Man actually got a fairly nice presentation on the Atari 2600. So there's not as much of a reason to hunt out a copy of Ms. Pac-Man for the 5200 if you already have Ms. Pac-Man on the 2600. Graphically, it's not bad at all. As you can see, there's quite a bit of definition and detail in the board and all the ghosts in Ms. Pac-Man. The sound effects are nice. There's some cutscenes and an opening screen. Things you don't get on the 2600 version. There's more reasons to pick up Ms. Pac-Man for the Atari 5200 than, say, a game like Galaxian for the 5200, because Galaxian had an awesome presentation on the 2600. Lots of hundreds I'm throwing out your way today. They really needed to mix up their numbers a bit. Could you imagine the Atari 32X? An add-on where you have to connect it to your Atari with 16 different cables, 5 power supplies, and a running stream of water. Although, arguably, that would still work better than the Sega 32X. On Atari consoles, the best version of Ms. Pac-Man is on the Atari 7800, which came out several years after this one. As far as I can tell, back in 1982, this is the best version of Ms. Pac-Man that you could have, unless you had the stand-up or cocktail table version of the arcade Ms. Pac-Man machine. To really play Pac-Man or Ms. Pac-Man properly, you need the arcade joystick for those fast movements. Although I'm not wild about the Atari 5200 controller with this game because it's an analog controller that's non-self-centering, it's still playable. Wow, I thought they cut that out for the American release. That's the exact moment when Ms. Pac-Man gets Pac-Man fever. Ah, shit. Completely kills the f***ing mood. Ms. Pac-Man is one of the greatest arcade games ever, and if you want to collect it for your Atari 5200, you'll really have no problem doing so, because there's a lot of them out there. It's fairly inexpensive. It's not in terribly high demand these days, and while there's better versions of Ms. Pac-Man out there, namely the Atari 7800 version and the arcade original. It's still fun to have Ms. Pac-Man on every game console that you own, because it came out on just about every game console ever made, except the Magnavox Odyssey 2. With that game system, you can get KC Munchkin. I don't think it's on ColecoVision, and probably not on Vectrex. Each version of Ms. Pac-Man on whatever game console is always slightly different. And here on the Atari 5200, gameplay speeds up rapidly once you get to about the 4th or 5th level, which is difficult with the joystick because you can't make really fast movements. So while I can go well beyond the banana stage on the arcade machine, here I got wiped out on the 5th level. And that's just bananas.